So in these notes, we're going to start considering some problems where we need more than one conversion factor in order to convert one value from one unit to a different one. So here's an example of a problem like that. A scientist measures the time it takes for an insect to crawl a certain distance, and it takes that insect 2 hours. She needs to use seconds in her calculations, so she's looking to convert hours into seconds. And so if we follow the steps that we went through on notes 3 and notes 2, we'd start by writing the number over 1. Then we go and find our conversion factor. And if we look at this list of conversion factors, there's no conversion factor over here that has both hours and seconds in it. We have this one that has hours and minutes in it, and then this one that has minutes and seconds in it, but there's none that has hours and seconds together. And so instead of writing down one conversion factor and solving it that way, what we'll have to do is we'll have to identify multiple conversion factors, create a pathway, and then alter our math just a little bit in order to complete this conversion. So here are the steps that are a little bit different for a two-step conversion process at the top of page 13 in your packet. And basically, what's different is at the top here, numbers 1 and 2, what we're trying to figure out is, can we convert directly from one unit to the other one? And then if we cannot, then we need to figure out a path. And a path is going to look like multiple conversion factors that help us link from one unit to the next. So in the same example that we were looking at, first we're going to write down that pathway. And so instead of going directly from hours to seconds, we're going to convert hours to minutes and then minutes to seconds. And we know we can do that because there's a conversion factor for that first conversion and a conversion factor for that second conversion. Then we'll start our process like we did in the past by writing the number over 1. And then we'll set up that first conversion factor by copying this given unit, hours, down to the bottom of our first conversion factor. Then what goes on the top is not the final unit because we don't have a conversion that goes directly from hours to seconds. And so instead, we're going to put hours on the bottom like we had before, and then minutes on the top because that's the first unit that we're going to convert to. Once we have these units positioned properly, we can put the numbers that correspond to each unit, and then we're going to repeat this process acting like minutes is our given unit. So we're going to take minutes and copy it down to the denominator of the next fraction. We'll then put the newest unit, seconds, up on the top because we do have a conversion factor that gets us from minutes to seconds. And then we can put the numbers that match with those units on that fraction. And so now we have a complete set of conversion fractions here. And so we can multiply all of them across the top after canceling the units, and then multiply all of them across the bottom and divide. So what we get when we multiply all of these numbers is 7,200, and all of these numbers is 1. And so 7,200 divided by 1 is this final answer. For the second example on page 13, we're trying to convert 35 kilometers into centimeters. So our pathway is going to be from kilometers to meters and from meters to centimeters. For your conversion factors, you can use this table that we've used before in order to fill in how many kilometers are equivalent to how many meters and how many meters are equivalent to how many centimeters. So for kilometers, we'll use this bottom row since it has the prefix kilometer in it. And then for centimeters, we'll use this middle row since it has the prefix centi in it. And these are our conversion factors. 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters, and 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. So then we can start the process by putting our given number over 1 and creating the first conversion by copying the given units. And then to put the numerator units, we're going to figure out what's the next step in our pathway. So we're going from kilometers to the next step, which is meters. Then we can put the numbers that correspond with them and do one more fraction. This time, we're copying meters down to the bottom and centimeters because that's the next step in our pathway. That should be on the top. We can put the numbers that match with these, cancel out the first units and the second units that leaves just our goal units here. And then we can multiply all the numbers across the top, and all of the numbers across the bottom before dividing and getting 3,500,000 centimeters. On the next page, page 14, we have an example trying to convert milliliters into kiloliters. So first we'll define this pathway, and the way that we can figure out this pathway is because there's a conversion factor that compares these two units and a conversion factor that compares these two. And so we know that if we can convert milliliters to liters, then we'll be able to convert liters to kiloliters. In order to figure out those specific conversion factors, we can look at these defaults and find the two shown at the bottom here. Then we'll write our number over 1. We'll copy milliliters onto the bottom of the fraction and liters on the top. We'll fill in the numbers that correspond with those units, and then repeat the process copying liters down to the bottom and kiloliters onto the top. Once we put the numbers that correspond with them, we can cancel out milliliters because there's 1 on the top and 1 on the bottom, and cancel out liters because there's 1 on the top and 1 on the bottom. And then we can multiply across the top and multiply across the bottom. Now here it's a little bit interesting because on top we'll have 3,275, and on the bottom we'll have 1 million. So after we have those two numbers, we'll have to divide them, and what we get is this decimal. Our last example is centigrams into milligrams. And so once again, our pathway is going to be through the base unit. So it goes from centigrams to just regular grams, and then from regular grams to milligrams. We can look at these different conversion factors and see how they relate to one another. We can write our number over 1, put centigrams on the bottom and grams on the top, put grams on the bottom and milligrams on the top, then cancel our units and multiply across the top and across the bottom. And here we have 74 times 1,000 on the top and just 100 on the bottom. So we will have to divide, and when we divide, we get a final answer of 740 milligrams. At this point, please pause the video and practice the conversions on page 15. When you're finished doing those conversions, then you can unpause this video and see the answers. So after you did some practice, here are the answers on page 15. Thank you for watching.